right, we're going to start with roll call. Senator Thompson. Senator Chow.
Here.
Senator Good. Here. Senator Johnson. Proxy, Senator Johnson. Senator Seeley. Done. Senator Quintan. Present. Senator Collis. Here. Senator Warner.
Proxy.
Senator Hebert.
Here.
Senator Ra.
Present.
Senator Samoa. Senator Ball. Senator Pesco.
Present.
Senator Dominguez. Senator Inches.
Present.
Senator CG.
Present.
Senator Christensen.
Proxy.
Senator Pope.
Here.
Senator Hoja.
Here.
Senator Rawl. Senator Saar.
Here.
Senator Vega. Senator Cronin.
Here.
Senator Owen Falami. Senator Schmidt.
Here.
Senator Train. Here. Senator Woody.
Here.
President Abdul Aziz.
Present.
Vice President Grammers.
Here.
All right.
You buddy.
We'll move into our presentation. Bill, do you mind going first?
I would love to.
Great.
I got church responsibilities today, so that helps out. And I'm not locked either. Yeah.
How's everybody today?
All right. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Bill Torvald. I work down in student activities. My primary responsibility is the advisor for the student events team. But with that as well, one of the things student events team works hard on is homecoming. Yeah, I have a hand up here. There's enough for about one every other person, so to save some trees, I didn't do all one for everybody. But the reason I'm here today is I reached out to Nolan to ask to come and speak with you. I'm one of the student committee members for the parade, 150th parade celebration. As you know, we're going to be celebrating the 150th year this coming fall, and with that celebration, the committee, the Centennial Committee, has moved forward with the idea of a 150th parade. They're looking to have this parade be one of the largest in the history of Mankato, as a way to not only engage students as well as the public here, as Minnesota State Mankato is an integral part of this Mankato community. Knowing that, there's been a committee that's been created to help plan this parade. It's going to be a lot larger than a typical homecoming parade. It is on Homecoming Saturday, 2018, which is, again, September 29th. And there's been some subcommittees created to really start hashing out the details of what this is going to look like. And so what I'm here today is to let you know that we are seeking some student representation on these committees to help be the student voice, help direct, which to really give some feedback for this committee, for these committees, for that parade. Throughout the process, the person in the student events team, the Homecoming Spirit Traditions Chair, whose primary responsibility is the bonfire and the parade, has been a part of this throughout the whole process, but one person does not want to be on that committee, so I can tell you she does not want to do that. So we're reaching out to the Senate just to see if you have interest. Let me know. We'll get you on that committee. They have not met yet. None of them have. So that when it comes time, you guys can help be a part of the process of planning the homecoming, this is School Centennial 150th Parade on September 20th. So, Nolan's going to probably send out information, my contact information. I'll leave some cards here. If you're interested, I'll leave my cards here. You can just send me an email what parades you might be interested in, or committees you might be interested in. And the time commitment will be a couple hours a month, probably a meeting a month, every other week for about an hour. Obviously, the route committee will be the big one right away, figuring out the route, and then dominoes will start falling from there. But we're really looking at an hour or two a week, and then as we kind of get closer to, if you're like on parade administration or route committee, you might be people wearing the vest with the microphones and the walkie-talkies directing people saying go this way, don't go this way. type thing that day as well. So if you have interest, just let me know. It's not forced fun, it's fun, volunteer fun. So just let me know. Brett, I can stand for questions.
Are there any questions for Bill?
It'll be fun. I'm sharing the registration of float management committee, and it's really, really fun.
Thank you, Bill.
Yeah, thanks. I said,
Oh, sorry.
Have you thought about reaching out to REJ to see if residents want to help out on these committees too?
At this time, it has not, particularly because one of the things we'd like to see is people say from now till fall with that transition to summer. We'll see how all representation goes here and then go from there, if that makes sense.
Is it preferred that people will be in Mankato during the summer in order to serve on these committees?
Preferred, not required. As long as you can respond to emails in a timely manner, you'll be all right.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Yes, have a good day.
Is Josh here? Josh Atencio? No? Josh did tell me that he might be running just a little bit late. He's coming from one of his classes. So when he comes back in, we'll just move back to that. Is anybody here for open forum? You can let it out. I don't. Either way.
So, a little bit of context. I work with students with Alex was here, by the way. I work with students with disabilities as part of my graduate program, and I had a student who was uncomfortable coming to the meeting and wanted to speak anonymously and knew that I was a former senator, so the student asked me to speak, but I have a written statement from them. It says, I have been at MSU for 6 years, first as an undergraduate student and now as a graduate student. Within this period, I suffered an incredibly traumatic injury, which has left me needing use of a cane periodically and incapable of walking long distances from campus on a consistent basis. In addition, I'm a graduate assistant, which requires me to be spending extended hours on campus for my hours and to do research and homework. Since my responsibilities have increased and my use of the red-eye shuttle has increased, I've noticed distinct and frustrating issues. For much of my time as a graduate student, I was sympathetic to the variety of possible causes for the bus not being in service. When I could afford it, I would walk or use cab service like Lyft or Uber. However, my frustration has increased in the past 2 semesters. Although I was able to walk home or find other rides to get home earlier, this has not been possible. There have been at least 5 to 10 situations since my injury, including last night, in which I have waited for the red-eye shuttle for at least 45 minutes and then had to resort to walking or finding a ride. Currently, there is no way of knowing if the shuttle is operating during the times listed in MSU Bus Services website or pamphlet. Because of this, my only options as a student with limited mobility are to either go home earlier and sacrifice my work, walk and sacrifice my well-being, or depend on other people and sacrifice my independence. As of right now, I must wait extended periods of time with no indication that these buses are running. I would genuinely like to be able to use this service as much as possible because my student fees pay for it, and I do understand that employees can call in sick and the like, but I would just like some accountability or honesty from the red-eye shuttle so I can continue to do work for this university and get home safely. That's the statement. I was there last night when that happened. We finished work just after 10:15, and according to the website, the bus is supposed to run until 11, but we got to the front of the CSU and it just never showed up. We had to call it Lyft. So, I just wanted you to read that.
Thank you. I assume that you're not going to stand for questions since this isn't an original statement.
I can try, but I don't think I'll be very helpful.
Would you mind if senators reach out to you, or if they have questions or need to get in contact of working things through?
Yeah, sure. I'll forward them to that person.
All right. So, Senator Pesco, I see that you do you want to try to respond to anything? Or?
Sure.
Less of a question, more like a general statement. I remember at one of our previous meetings last semester, we had a gentleman come in talking about the bus app, and I was just wondering if anyone had news on the development of that. It was like an app where you could tell if it was running, in real time. Has anyone heard about that? I'm just curious.
Yes.
I was actually undertaking that process and still we're in talks with ITS, so ITS need to proceed further, so it's still under process. It hasn't been figured out, which is a long process, so we're working on that.
Gotcha. I think that would be a...
Yeah, that is a good solution. Yeah, because I suffered the same situation, that's why I thought of having this idea of M&S.
Now, I'm gonna go Alex and then Senator Starr.
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Sure. So would that apply to the shuttles or just to the city buses?
The shuttles as well. Shuttles as well, because, I mean,
I just want to know what's above first.
that's the idea that I approached with Mark Anderson, the superintendent of transportation, and also with David Cohen, and also with the Mankato government, so they're moving on. So that's on the process. Still.
Are there any other comments or questions to this reform? Vice President Kramer?
Could I refer you maybe to David Cowan or the Parking and Transportation Committee?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, the person just asked me to come speak.
Thank you so much, Alex. We'll move back up to presentations, and Josh Atencio. Here we go.
Hello, if you guys don't know who I am, Josh Tencio, chairperson for the Elections Committee right now. I'm going to pass around a copy of the timeline that we actually just finished up. So you guys can have those, yours to keep or disseminate to anybody you want to. Also want to put up on the screen the election rules with some just highlighted changes that we made. We'll go over those for just a second. So, just got on the last second here. What was that? Yeah, if you want to. Yeah, I'm going to be aided by Alex and Kate too, so. So we're going to do a pretty good synopsis of this just so everyone has a good idea. Most of you should have agreed to most of these terms. We've changed them a little bit, but you're all senators, so you should have seen this once or twice.
Can you explain that? If you ran in the election?
What was that?
If they were...
Yeah. Who didn't run in the election last year? You don't count. You guys can count, I guess, yeah. Yeah, we can zoom in this way. All right, well, most of you should, but we're going to cover it just because people in the room haven't been over everything.
We do want to ensure that the process is transparent. Everyone knows it, and all of the rules are clear to everyone. Now.
Yeah, the biggest thing we're going to do this year is just be as transparent as possible, putting pretty much everything out there when we edit as well, so that there's nothing that's weird or anything like that, so. Because I wasn't here last year, but there was a couple things that became an issue, and that's why we got this committee together sooner than normal, just so we can take a stab at those and get those done as quickly as possible if anything does arise. So for eligibility, no, we didn't really change anything on that one. It's any MSU student, provided, is eligible, provided Article 1 of the spring election rules is satisfied. And then you're not allowed to run for more than one Senate seat, so you can't be an off-campus as well as a College of Social and Behavioral Sciences. Yeah, all candidates and campaign staff are going to be required to attend an election rules meeting that we conducted by us. We have a couple set up. You guys got the timeline. There's 2 of them set up before the campaigning, 2 of them set up afterward. So you have to go to one of those, and we'll have 2 of us there at each one, so there can be, questions that need to be asked and whatnot. Yeah, go for it.
And then another thing too, that was kind of a recommendation that was made, is also if a party if a party decides to have a rules meeting just for themselves, they can schedule one, get everyone out of the way all at once. So, and there will be 2 people there for transparency.
All right, so in section A, one of the things we didn't add this, we just changed the wording to it. So it says candidates for executive office, president, or vice president must file together and no later than 2 weeks prior to the spring election day. What we changed here is we added the word together. That way, it's just a lot easier to get a president and a vice president working together versus working separately on different agendas throughout the entire year. And if you've been a previous senator, you've seen that, and it's not easy to get things done. So, and it was voted on by the student body.
Is that, John, did you have a comment or question?
His last comment that he just said was what I was going to say. That was approved by the student body last year.
Yeah, student body. So what else we got? And then we just have some dates here, or some elected dates. So candidates for all the elected positions must file no later than 1 week prior to the spring election day, which this year is April 10th. Party or group staff must file no later than 1 week prior to the spring election day as well. Oops. When you do file, you get a copy of the rules. So this is going to be up on ArcSync. I sent it to Amber today, and so she'll get that up there as soon as she can. And it'll be easy for anyone to access. Anyone has access to ArcSync, which is every student. You can take a look at it, and if you have any questions, always get a hold of one of us or something. We can help you out with that. Oh, and number 5. So the highlighted one here, this one was really important. Like I said, I wasn't here last year, but this wasn't one of the issues that came up last year, I guess. If a member appointed to the Election Commission should decide to run, they must withdraw from the commission no later than the first day of campaigning, as defined in the election timeline. Any member of the Elections Commission remaining past the first day of campaigning shall be ineligible to run in the election. So all of us who are on the committee right now, if we want to be senators or any other positions are available, we have to drop being in the commission the day before campaigning. And then they're eligible to campaign. So we don't want us being 3 weeks down the road and then decide we're going to do it, because it's kind of just unfair advantage. We see things that you're not supposed to disseminate to other people and whatnot before the election comes out. So that one's pretty important. The next part's about endorsers. Section B is all about endorsers. Endorsers shall be defined as groups or individuals that are officially sponsoring or campaigning for a different candidate / party or group. Endorsers are limited to recognized student organizations, businesses, and other groups or individuals approved by the Election Commission. Now I'm just going to go over the first one.
Hey Josh, I'm going to ask you a question. Is this posted online, or can we find this on the website?
Yeah, I said I gave it to Amber, and when she has time, she's going to put it up on OrgSync.
It is on OrgSync, right?
Or it is on OrgSync. She did get it done then, and it's on it's under MSSA.
For the sake of time, would you be okay going over the things that have changed and the things that are changing?
Of course.
Cool. So then I would just focus on that. And then anybody else, if you have questions about how the election commissions run, feel free to ask. And then if you have anything that you think is really important to remind people about, sprinkle that in. Is that okay?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
All right. Thanks.
So it'll be Article 4, campaigning, number 2, letter A. a person or party is able to request a rule of reading, like he was talking about earlier. It must be approved by the Elections Commission. That's not that we would deny you an opportunity to have one with us. It's just that we want 2 commission seats to be there, so it's kind of on our availability, just to make sure that can happen. So like I said, it's not like we would deny having one. It's more of a matter of time and what time it's at. And then 6A got just reworded. Campaign materials shall be defined as physical or digital images, statements, and messages by a candidate or endorsing individual or group for the purposes of campaigning as defined above. The examples of campaign material include, but are not limited to, literature, posters, advertisements, banners, flyers, printed material, websites, emails, text messages, and social media sites. This was kind of all jumbled into one. And the wording didn't include physical or digital images, so we broke it up and we set one into the definition and the second one just as an example. And then, this is still under campaigning, by the way. Letter F, number 5, we added as well as the spring date election. So any posters or material that you're gonna put out there, we want the voting URL on there as well as the spring election date. It's just easier for everyone else to see that too. And then we added for no campaigning zones, any space that has requested to be a no campaign zone. And they'll let you know, so that's just something that you either have to ask about, or I'm sure they'll have a sign. We'll go through, we're on finances, Article 6, number 3. We just changed the wording here a little bit. No individual or group endorser. Before it said no individual or group, comma, candidate or endorser may contribute more. So it's the same amount of money, and we just changed the wording a little bit. And same with number 4. We just added electronic or physical receipts, just because things are changing these days. You can have electronic or physical receipts. Just put it in there. Well, this one's actually pretty important. So Article 8, number 1, to be considered an elected candidate, any person must have at least 5 votes. For write-ins. And the reason was because there was a lot of write-ins, I guess, in the past, not just the last year, but in years past, where there was a bunch of people who had 2 votes, and you had to contact every single one of those people, and it just became a little too hard, and most of those people didn't even know that they were running. Their friends, put them down as a joke, and they're passing by. So to make it more of a numbered standard, we did 5, so it was just a little easier to see who was actually being voted for.
John, you have a question?
May I speak to that one?
Yeah.
Josh, real quick.
So there was some questions also on that one. We actually spent some time on this one in the commission meeting. And his rationale was sound. When we have 4 or 5 candidates who each got 2 write-ins, and you're trying to determine whether or not you're going to have a runoff election because you've got a tie and all that kind of stuff, it is just way too time consuming. So basically, if we have write-ins and somebody doesn't have the 5 votes, and most of this is with boards and commissions, so the CSU board or athletics advisory committee or something like that, if you have write-in candidates who receive less than 5 votes, that seat's just going to be considered vacant and would go through the normal vacancy appointment process that any other seat does. Okay, so that's the result of this. So it would make it so that the number of people who get 1 or 2 votes, it's ridiculous, and so just it's a mess that night trying to track people down. So this solves that problem. So.
Do you have a question?
So this is just going to be added real quick. By write-in, because anybody who's voted above that, it doesn't really apply to them. This is just for the write-ins. So I'll send Amber the new copy of this.
So how do you guys determine the number of 5 votes? Because if you technically look at it, 5 votes can still do the whole let's get everybody in a room kind of deal and write this person in.
I couldn't hear you.
How do you guys determine 5 votes to be kind of like that standard?
I was using the people who had experience from looking at the votes in the past, and they said that the number 2 or 3 was just a little too low, and that's when a lot of people had a bunch. Anything above 5 was more of an ideal number, where only maybe 2 or 3 people were in there instead of 50. So that's the reason why.
Realistically, if you can get a bunch of people to write you in, and you actually kind of want it, then you can get over that 5, but this is more to get rid of the people who, maybe your friends wrote you a joke or something like that, you're not actually a serious candidate. Yeah, and then the add-in with the write-in part was on purpose, because if you go through the process of applying, you file for candidacy, do the rules rating, if you get under 5 and that's considered enough to get you in a place, you would still be allowed to be elected, but if it's a write-in, it would be considered a vacancy.
Is that good?
Thanks.
Do you mind fielding some questions now? Is it pertinent to right now, or do you mind waiting?
That's the last thing, so we're open to questions right now.
Great, Senator Good.
Yield to question and a comment.
Sure.
So my question is, so in the past, there's been issues with the rules readings not being documented. And so my question is how are you planning on making sure that those rules readings are going to be documented so that it's, so if your person that's running is like put in there because I did the rules reading for sure?
Well, I would say, I don't know if this was an issue before, but we could easily create a log, and all you have to do is name, time, the commissioners that are there, you sign off on it, and that party's done, or individual's done, right there. So, if that's an issue, that's something we can look into, and we can create a log for that, because that's not hard to do, so.
And I would add too, if you do notice an issue like that, feel free to let the commission know that something up was done. We are trying to be more transparent and respond to emails and respond to issues, so.
Yeah, if you know somebody hasn't done it, not even by negligence, they just forgot, maybe they just didn't actually know that they had to, let them know or let us know, and we can contact them, we can get to them too, so. Yeah.
And then my comment was, I think it was 2 highlight parts back. It's, you guys said spring, but it says soaring, I think. It was an O and not a P.
Oh. Good catch. Where is it? I don't see it.
All right, are there any other questions? All right, well, thank you very much for coming and presenting this to us.
All right.
So we'll move out of presentations and back into open forum.
Todd Thinkston, Campus Recreation. This is just real quick. Wednesday, February 7th, Student Affairs versus Student Senate Bowling Challenge. Yeah, we're winning. Pretty much. See you there. Thank you.
All right. Anybody else here for open forum? Seeing none, we'll move into the approval of the consent agenda. President Abdul?
I'd like to amend the consent agenda to add Shelley Tao to the IT roundtable.
So you want to add Shelley Tao to the IT roundtable. Seeking a second. Seconded. Any dissent to adding Shelley Tao to the IT roundtable under appointments? Seeing no dissent, approved. Make sure that you note that on the appointments. Any other amendments? Vice President Kramers?
I move to amend vacancies to add Arts and Humanities vacancy seat for January 31st.
All right, so this is still seeking a second.
Second.
All right, seconded by President Abdulaziz. This would add Arts and Humanities vacancy for 1/31/18. So basically, we would be announcing it now. Any dissent to adding that vacancy? So moved. All right, anything else for the approval of the consent agenda? Is there any dissent to approving the consent agenda? Seeing none, agenda approved. Move into officer reports, and we'll start with President Abdulaziz.
Okay, so starting off with my first one, Yes, I'm wearing suspenders, and yes, they look great, thank you. Second one, so our retreat is coming up this Friday. It's going to be 3 to 8. There's been two people that have reached out to me and told me that they couldn't make it. If you're not going to be able to make it, please reach out to me and tell me why, because it is a mandatory retreat. This Friday in 253, 4, and 5. So the big thing that we're going to be, me and Noah are going to be presenting, we're going to be going over some stuff about like some goals and some vision that we have and some things that we want to pass in terms of being a Senate. And then we're going to do some other fun activities, but the big thing is the transition documents in terms of, we're going to spend like about an hour and a half talking about what is a transition document, what goes into a transition document, and what we're looking to essentially pass on to the next Senate. And we're going to write in terms of goals for your position, what you want to see done next year that you possibly couldn't do this year, what things that you want to work on this semester. So kind of like a written archive left behind for other senators to kind of cut the learning curve short. So things that you found like significantly helpful when you entered the position that helped you do your job easier. So that's going to be kind of a big portion of our retreat. We have a board meeting. I have a board meeting on January 20th for Students United. This is going to be our first board meeting back. So we're going to be talking again about pushing the affirmative consent policy that we're written up. It's been delayed another month at the Board of Trustees meeting, so it would go to the next meeting in, there's not one in February, but in March. So we're still working on that. And then hopefully that's one of the things that we'll talk about, passing affirmative consent on our campus in terms of we approve or we're in support of the policies that the policy change that Students United has written up, and we'll be talking about that as well. Okay, so it's been 2 weeks. So it's getting to that time where people are either kind of calling off MSSA because of either personal reasons or academic reasons. And I think like all we can really personally ask is that like if you know that you're not going to be able to commit to MSSA this semester and like going forward, or like you know that it's going to be a time scramble, or that you know you have to prioritize something else, please let us know, because it is that time where people start essentially not coming to meetings, start disappearing from committees, and know that they're not going to be able to uphold certain duties. Please let us know so we can possibly fill that spot with somebody who can commit to the time. So it's not like start doing this, it's like just take a real look at this semester and start prioritizing, and just start understanding that like this is a position that yes, does have a lot of commitment to it, but also like it's a commitment that needs to be filled, if that makes sense. And then delegates is the weekend of the 16th to the 18th. So that's coming up in another month or so, but that's coming up soon. And depending on the amount of people that want to go, we'll probably do selection differently, but usually a good amount of people want to go that we'll have enough for like people to sit at the table and to have a couple people to rotate through. And besides that, I think that's it.
Are there any questions for President Abdulaziz? Seeing no questions. Vice President Kramer, you're up.
Hello, everyone. Hope your week has been good. Hope you're not drowning in homework yet. So I just have a couple of things. First of all, we're looking for appointments for the Tech C Advisory Committee, so if you guys care about Wi-Fi and computers and stuff like that. When they present their budget, there's a couple student voices that go into that process, so if you're interested in that, let me know. Secondly, we have the hockey tickets still for Saturday, January 27th. The president was generous enough to give us a couple tickets, so send an email to Amber. When is that? 27th, January 27th. Yeah, it's like a suite. So, very excited. I went last year, had a good time. So yeah, send an email to Amber if you're interested. If there's more than, what, 11 people that want to go, we'll have to do a little drawing. Other than that, the last thing I have is talking about the bowling challenge. I'll pass around a sign-up sheet, free food. We'll have a short meeting on the 7th, and then bowling will be 4:30 to 6. Last year we won. I expect nothing less. So I'll go around. That's it.
Are there any questions for Vice President Kramer? All right. I'm moving to my report. First, I want to thank the Dean of the Day, Dean Cecil, for coming from Arts and Humanities. Thank you for supporting us in MSSA. Make sure that, so February 14th, I didn't write this in there, but February 14th and 28th, those are going to be important because we're going to be getting, those are going to kind of be the first of some major meetings that are going to show different fees that are coming through. So make sure that you're here, or if you have a proxy, make sure your proxy is taking good notes and getting those to you. That's going to be very, very important when it comes to voting on budgets. Being able to hear that stuff, it's going to be very, very pertinent. You'll see the office hours cycle on there. Don't forget that January 24th, which is next Wednesday, so the start of next meeting is when office hours are due. You have to have your 6 in there. You have to log them too. Remember that you have to log them on OrgSync. I'm going to go over, if we get a little time, I'll go like a quick 2-minute session again on how to log office hours on OrgSync at the retreat this Friday. Make sure you're at that retreat. Also, please take note if you're the senators for next week. I said this last week, and I'll say it again. I make sure to put down who's presenting their senator report next week on here. So if there's an issue or a problem you got to get moved, make sure you email me. Don't just cross your name off, because I might not see that. I might not notice that, and you'll be on the list. So for those senators, please make sure you're ready. And we'll talk about it in vacancies, but just a heads up that we do have a lot of vacancies. So right now we have 4. Hopefully we don't lose anybody else, but just be prepared about that. Please spread the word to your friends, because we want to fill those seats right away. I mean, I don't want to pressure you to pick somebody who's not qualified, but ideally we fill those right away so that they can hear all these budget presentations and they can have a voice for those students they represent. With that, I yield. Are there any questions for me?
This might be a dumb question. Is it possible to have both off-campus senator positions filled on the same day, that way we don't have to do 2 days of that?
Would that be an amendment?
Yes.
Okay, so the best way to do that would be to amend it so that one of them on the 24th would the one on the 24th would get moved to the 31st.
I do the other way around.
We can't do it opposite because there hasn't been 2 weeks. And John, do you have any input on that?
Sure. Since one's already been announced, I would just assume that anybody who's going to want it would be here next week anyway, so I would do them both next week.
Okay, that makes sense.
And then I would do both your academic ones the following week.
Ray, are you suggesting an amendment to put them both on the 24th?
Yes.
Is there a second to that amendment?
Second.
So Senator Train. All right, is there any dissent to moving the 31st off-campus senator? So it would have been the vacancy on the 31st to the 24th. So both the elections will be on the 24th for that one seat. All right, seeing no dissent, amendment moved. Make sure you mark that on your agenda. Any other questions for me? That was good, by the way. All right, moving to senator reports. Senator Collis, you're up first.
So there's not a whole lot going on quite yet, but throughout the rest of the semester, the College of Business is going to be holding an event called 1 Million Cups. It's the first Wednesday of each month from 8:30 to 9:30 in the morning, down at the Hubbard Building, the Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation. It's not just for business students, it's mainly to connect and educate local entrepreneurs and build these kind of small businesses. And the founders of each of these businesses will be in presenting, and you have kind of an opportunity to talk to them and meet community members.
Any questions for Senator Collis? Senator Warner? I suppose we have a proxy here. Yeah, that's right. She told me that she wasn't going to be here. I'm not going to have proxies do the senator reports just because, and I'll talk about this on Friday, but just because you wouldn't be able to answer questions the same way she would. So we're going to move on, and then if she gets here before we close, she gets here before we close. Going and looking at our vacancies, so we're moving away from senator reports, moving into vacancies. Make sure that you're telling your friends about the 2 off-campus senator seats on the 24th. So that's next week. And then the week after that, we're going to have one for graduate senator and one for arts and humanities. So again, make sure you're telling those people, those movers and shakers, make sure you're telling them to be here because we want people being able to vote. Moving on to vacancies, we're moving to new business. Does anybody have anything for new business? All right, no new business, moving to announcements. That's out.
I do have something. All right, thank you, Speaker. So tomorrow at 4 p.m., my professor, Dr. Mary Kramer, was able to set up a meeting with Trudy Kunkel. She is the City Council for Ward 5, and she'll be coming here on campus we'll be talking to her about Tobacco 21. So if you guys, MSSA, she would like I will be there, and I would like to have another MSSA to help me represent us. I'd like to give a shout out to Griffin and Alima for coming out yesterday. We went to North Mankato public hearing to represent MSSA. It was good. We were able to work with other students, high school students, getting involved with the community, which is nice to hear about their concerns about tobacco. So, yeah, hopefully tomorrow it'll be in front of Jasmine at 4 p.m. I'll be there with my professor. So come find me if you guys are interested in hearing about this one. Yeah.
Senator Johnson.
Thompson? Sorry, I thought you said Johnson. All right, tonight there is an ice cream social for STLF. You guys don't know STLF, it's Students Today, Leaders Forever, and it's an alternative spring break where we get to go on a road trip across the United States and do volunteer work. You can learn more about it. You get ice cream, and it's in Whistling Call 289. And then if you don't make it tonight, on Monday we have B-Dubs is sponsoring us, so if you guys want to go to B-Dubs from 5 p.m. to midnight, and you mention us, you have to mention us, then you could donate 15% of your total bill, excluding alcohol and any like promotional things that they had. So go support us, or come learn more. And if you have any questions about that, you can come ask me.
Senator Pascoe, you still have something?
Nope.
Vice President Kramer?
Okay, so if you're feeling more charitable, tonight, Dance Marathon is having a fundraiser at Chipotle right over here, 5 to 9. Just quick mention us, be super cool, get Chipotle. Would say no to that.
Who is it again?
Dance Marathon. Dance Marathon, yeah. Also, our event is on February 24th. Love for you to all be there. It's going to be super fun. Really excited.
Any other announcements? Oh, sorry, Alex.
Hi again. So, tonight, another thing tonight, in case you have nothing else to do, Native American Student Association is having our first meeting for this semester. We're meeting in Oasis at 6. Show up if you want, we'll have pizza. But more importantly, Monday on the 22nd, American Indian Affairs and American Indigenous Studies, as well as a few other departments, are coming together to host film showing called More Than a Word, and it's discussing the use of the Washington football team. So that's 6 o'clock in Ostrander. We'll be having the film showing. There'll be a Q&A with one of the people who was in and worked on the film. And if you're uncomfortable with asking questions, we'll have like a text-in service, so it'll come up on screen anonymously. So technology. So that, like I said, that's in Ostrander, 6 p.m. on the 22nd. So hope to see some of you all there.
Senator Good.
All right, so Maverick Adventures met for the first time this semester yesterday, and and many of you were in the office but didn't come in. It's great, thank you. Anyway, so January 31st, we are doing snow. I know I talked about that last meeting a little bit more details is we are going to be snowshoeing out to do yoga in the snow. Don't you know? And that'll be from 4 to 6 on the 31st. You can do the 4 to 5 or the 5 to 6, as I believe. So, but yeah, so if you want, to go, it is shared on Facebook. Tell your friends about it also if they are wanting to go. There are so many snowshoes. If they do have snowshoes, they can bring them, and then we can fit more people. So if you have any questions, talk to Erica, me, or Joe, and yeah, let us know. Come to our meetings. There you go.
I have one other announcement. You probably all got an email about it. If you would like to be in a promotional video for the Vikings game, which is coming up this next Sunday, they're getting basically students together. You're supposed to wear Maverick gear or wear something purple, and they'll have you doing the Skol chant. So you're more than welcome to join. That's going to be 6 p.m. on Thursday in Bresnan Arena, or the basketball court, for those of you who don't know. Anything else for announcements? Huh? Yeah, tell everybody. Get as many people there as possible. John?
Just a reminder, next Wednesday from 10 to 2, the first housing fair this calendar year. So if you know people who are looking for stuff next year, 10 to 2 on Mav Ave, first housing fair. Most of the properties that students live with will be there represented. So if there are questions, you can let me know or send them there. Thank you.
Mark?
Looking for some good fun this Saturday night. Free tubing, the student events team is sponsoring that. There'll be buses leaving from campus, from residence halls, also from in front of the building. It starts at 7 o'clock. So when was the buses leaving, you remember, John? I think 6:15 or something like that. But 7 to 10 is free tubing. Mankato will be some good time. Your student activities for you to work.
Do they have to sign up for it?
No.
In front of the CSU?
You can check with student events team, make sure for sure. I think down in front of Prescott, I think is one of the main ones, and they have an off-campus location, maybe Salem Heights as well, but I think out in front of Prescott is the main location.
They're hitting some of the off-campus housing projects too.
Senator Thompson?
Can you just go to Mankato, or do you have to use the busing to?
No, you don't have to use the bus, you can go there.
But yeah, you just need your map card. Cool.
Yeah, map card.
Anything else for announcements? All right, moving to roll call. Senator Thompson? Here. Senator Chow?
Here.
Senator Good? Here. Senator Johnson? Proxy, right?
Here.
Senator Quintan? Here. Senator Collis? Senator Warner?
Proxy.
Senator Hebert?
Here.
Senator Bra? Senator Schwimmer? Here. Senator Paul? Senator Paul? Here. Senator Pesco? Here. Senator Dominguez? Here. Senator Imtiaz? Here. Senator Znichi?
Present.
Senator Christensen? Proxy. Senator Pope? Here. Senator Hoja? Here. Senator Rao? Senator Bissar? Here. Senator Vega? Here. Senator Cronin?
Here.
Senator Ogun Falami? Senator Schmidt?
Here.
Senator Trini? Here. Senator Whitty? Here. President Abdulaziz? Present. Vice President Kramer?
Here.
All right, meeting closes 4:48. It's all time. Not just me though, we do it
We should.